The kirtan is wonderful, but it can be better. It can be more deep, more pure, more attractive, more transformative, I guess is a good word. It can do more to clean the heart. It can be better, deeper. And it becomes deeper when we follow in the line of the acharyas, when we follow Srila Prabhupada and his teachings. There's a lot of stuff in ISKCON Kirtan that wasn't there during Prabhupada's time. Govindadasi spoke yesterday about her experiences with Prabhupada, and especially in the early days. And I was also around came after Govindadasi. She's my senior god sister. But so many times I got to hear Srila Prabhupada lead Kirtan. And it's quite different from a lot of what goes on today. And a lot of us who've joined along the way don't even know what it was like. We don't know that whatever it is that the kirtan leader is doing isn't something that Prabhupada taught us or introduced or asked for. This is what we do. From the day I joined, this is what it always was. This is what my Bhakta leader taught us. And so these things become instituted as standards just by some sort of automatic process, even though they may not be a true standard. In the beginning of the book, in this regard, I tell a story that Jayadvaita Maharaj tells. He heard it, I think, from Srila Prabhupada, about the cat in the basket. Do you know that story about the cat in the basket? There was a wedding ceremony, and everything was there. The bride was there, the groom was there, the family was there, the guests were there, the priest was there, the whole setup, everything's ready to go. But there was a cat that was like running all over the place and causing a commotion. And so some person with presence of mind saw that there was a basket, so they took the basket, threw the cat in the basket, threw the lid on the basket, and then the wedding went on peacefully. Then, some years later, the daughter of that couple was getting married. And again, everything was lined up. The guests were there, the priest was there, the family was there, everything was there, and they're just ready to go. But she says, wait a second, what about the cat in the basket? There has to be a cat in the basket. This is a family tradition. So they got a cat, they got a basket, and then everything was performed. So these things get started, and no one knows where they came from, but they go on as family traditions. You know the story about Sargal Singh? This is also a related story, it's also in the book, that there was a man who was lamenting that Sargal Singh is dead, Sargal Singh is dead. And he met the grocer, and the grocer was like, what? He said, Sargal Singh is dead. Why are you crying? Sargal Singh, he was my best friend, he was so loyal, he just always there for me. And now he's dead. And the man had shaved his head, and he was crying. You know, when there's a death in the family, you shave your head. So he was crying, and then this grocer was so moved that he also shaved his head, and he also began lamenting for Sargal Singh, who was so devoted and so loyal and was the best friend of this man. And then it started going around the village. Everybody's, Sargal Singh is dead, Sargal Singh is dead. And people were shaving their heads and people were crying. And it went up to like the mayor, and then it went up to the governor, and the different versions of the story. It goes up to the king. Now his minister has shaved his head, and Sargal Singh is dead. The king said, "Who's Sargal Singh?" And the minister didn't know. He asked the governor didn't know, the mayor didn't know. They went down, 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 down. Finally, they found out that they got to the original man, who was a washerman, and found out that Sargal Singh was the washerman's ass, his donkey. And the whole kingdom is lamenting for the death of this donkey. So these things come down and nobody questions, well, where did this come from? Where did this come from? And so it just becomes, well, this is what we do. And no one really knows. So a lot of stuff has crept into ISKCON Kirtan, and we don't know where it comes from. So many of those things are identified in the book, along with many things that Prabhupada did ask for. By the way, I'll have time for questions, or if you want to interrupt me at some point and ask one, feel free. Yes? You have 2 questions already. I have 1 question. Do you have a microphone? No, I have 1 question. Is there a microphone? And yes, there is. Why is it bad to add more things to the kirtan? Well, it's bad because Prabhupada didn't like what he called invention or concoction. We add something because, well, like why is it bad to add water to milk? Or orange juice to milk? Or buttermilk to milk? The idea is milk. But by mental concoction, we add something. Oh, it would be better with 7-Up in it or something, whatever we think is good. But no, the original thing, just like when you get ghee, do you want pure ghee or do you want ghee with something in it? Do you want honey that's pure honey or do you want honey with something in it? The pure thing, Prabhupada said, a little bit of a pure thing is worth heaps of adulterated things. The kirtan, in essence, what's the essence of kirtan? Krishna's satisfaction. The essence is Krishna's holy name and Krishna's satisfaction. And then we add something else. How does that make it better? Our attention is meant to be on the holy name of Krishna. That's the essence of kirtan. Prabhupada, in one place, I could look it up, but Prabhupada said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, you don't even need mridanga and kartals. He said, just to, make a rhythm, he said, you don't even need that, just you can clap your hands, because the essence is the holy name. And then, but we add this, we add that, we add this, we add that, and pretty soon the holy name disappears. Or the holy name has gone from 100% to 80%, from 80% to 70, from 70 to... Prabhupada, what was Prabhupada's claim in giving Krishna consciousness? What was, a central claim that he made?
I gave this the way I got it from my spiritual master.
That's it. I didn't add anything, I didn't change anything, I didn't subtract anything, I didn't adulterate anything. I just deliver what I got from my spiritual master. That's what a disciple does. Disciple takes what he's gotten and gives it to the next person. That's parampara. So that what Prabhupada said, that was my qualification, or whatever you call it, that I didn't change anything. I didn't adulterate it. As it is. As it is. So what's wrong with as it is? And how is anything better than as it is? Now that doesn't mean there's no, that it's like you have to be in a straitjacket and we all have to line up in military formation and everyone has to chant Hare for exactly this many moments and then Krishna at exactly, it's not, but there's ways to do it and ways not to do it. Just like in the deity worship. I've seen all sorts of wild things go on in the deity worship, and so did Prabhupada. And he didn't like it. That someone concocts that Krishna should have, I can't think of a good concoction right now, but you've seen them. It's not, but the deity should be nicely dressed. There should be lots of flowers. Everything should be clean. Everything should be on time. Those were the two biggest things for Prabhupada, clean and on time, and done with devotion. So many other things don't really matter. If it's clean, it's on time, it's done with devotion, you got most of the story right there. And then some flowers, some nice incense, some this, some that, paraphernalia. But the main thing is clean, on time, and with devotion. Somebody, I forget, they tied something together, and but Prabhupada said, no, they're dancing. You don't tie them together. But people get ideas. That was Prabhupada's campaign, practically, was holding people back from their concoctions in the deity worship. Just getting people not to concoct was a big deal. Because everybody's got a new idea. And Prabhupada, just do it as I showed you.
But some people, and maybe also to myself, we don't even know what a concoction or whether it's part of the standard.
A lot of us don't know by this time what's a concoction and what's for real. Well, that's one reason for the book. Apart from the book gives sort of general principles, basic teachings from Srila Prabhupada about the mood of kirtan, the potency of kirtan, the essential nature of kirtan, and it gives a lot of particulars. There's even in the back a table of things Prabhupada approved and disapproved. Let's look at some of them. Approved. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's essential. Then, recommended. These were mantras that Prabhupada, yes, this is good. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Prabhupada liked that very much. Haraye Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan. These two lines. Not Haraye Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah Yadavaya Madhava. That's a bona fide song by Narottam Das Thakur, but it's not what Prabhupada asked us to chant. These two lines chanted by Mahaprabhu. Haraye Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah Gopal Govindaram Sri Madhusudan. That's it. That's what Mahaprabhu chanted after he took sannyas, and that's what Prabhupada told us you could now add to the kirtan, especially in Mayapur. But people take it and run with it and think, they didn't read the book, they didn't read that instruction, they've heard something, and so it becomes Sri Chaitanya Nityananda, Sri Advaita Sita, Hari Guru Vaishnava, two or three, usually only 2 or 3 verses of the song, which isn't what Prabhupada asked for. Is it wrong? No, it's not wrong. It's a bona fide bhajan, but it's just not what he asked us to do. So Prabhupada gives the example that his spiritual master asks for water, and you think, well, let me bring him milk. And just bring water. Marginal. Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Prabhupada sometimes approved and sometimes disapproved. Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram. Sometimes approved and sometimes disapproved. And the examples where he disapproved are pretty cool. On Ram Nomi, he disapproved. Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram. Yes?
Correct me if I'm wrong. I also said he said, what is it? Gaur Nityananda Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol.
Yeah,
he said 1 or 2 times like that is okay, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, starts on page 70. The whole story about Gaur Nityananda Bol and Lokanath Maharaj had an enthusiastic Hari Bol party, and Prabhupada had something to say about it. So the book is evidence-based. It's not, things that I just kind of remember or impressions that I have or pet peeves or biases. It's the idea is to present what Prabhupada said. So it's evidence-based. If there's something given here, then the evidence is given also. Yes?
How about Jagannatha Swami?
Yeah, that's there. Let's see. Okay. That's approved. It's part of a very long song, in fact. But Prabhupada approved Jai Jagannath and so on at the Rath Yatra. Yes. Then there's some things that were not done during Prabhupada's presence. Then there's some things that were implicitly disapproved. Then there are things absolutely disapproved. Sri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare He Nata Narayana Vasudeva. Disapproved. Yeah, explicitly. Prabhupada said this is chanted by the Mayavadis. Yeah. I was there, Prabhupada, in New York. What is this? Krishna Govinda, what is that? Oh, it's not authorized, Prabhupada. This is chanted by the Mayavadis. 1968. Yes.
But the song Jagannath Astakam, Jagannatha Swami Nayana Padagang is also written by Shankaracharya. It's also sung by the Mayavadis.
There are different opinions about who wrote that song, but that's all right. When Mayavadis, if a Mayavadi chants something that's accepted by our acharyas, we accept it. We're not against Shankaracharya, we're just against Mayavad. Let's see. Jai Gurudev, Prabhupada was disapproved. Said it's impersonal. Who is that Gurudev? Om Jaya Jagadisha Hari. What is this Om? Don't add anything. Don't concoct. There's a lot there. Emphatically disapproved. Bolo before the Hare Krishna mantra. Bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Disapproved emphatically. Prabhupada really got on the case of people who did that. Bolo Hare Krishna. Pages 47 and 48. Bolo Hare Krishna. It just means chant, but Prabhupada was against it. Bhaja Hare Krishna, same thing. Don't add anything. Adding anything at all before the Hare Krishna mantra. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Whoa, 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 Hare Krishna. I heard that from Bhakti Vikas Maharaj that that it was whoa, whoa, whoa. I said that he was down on it. I thought, come on, who chants that? And then I heard it in one of our flagship temples in America. Whoa, whoa, Hare Krishna. Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah. Thing that devotees do, and I know Prabhupada didn't like it at all, was breaking the mantra up. Like sing song, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, they go back and forth.
Yeah.
Kind of breaking the mantra up rather than singing it straight through.
Yeah. I don't have any evidence about that. My impression is that you're right, that he didn't like it. But I didn't have any explicit evidence, so I didn't say anything about it.
Okay.
But if you have some, there'll be an addition too.
One Maharaj, I can't think of his name, he's from Germany.
Bhakti Gauravani Maharaj?
Yeah. I saw him shoot that down many times when it came up. And he was very strong about that. He said,
Yeah.
I never liked that.
And maybe I can ask him about it.
Yeah, Bhakti Gauravani Maharaj,
Yeah. I got some things from him. He's good. Yes?
Maharaj, you said that Jaya Gurudev is disproved. I want to ask, for example, if the Vyasa Puja of some spiritual masters and all his disciples are there and they sing at the end Jaya Gurudev, so that's not approved?
Prabhupada, he was exactly the circumstances what Prabhupada was talking about. All the disciples of the spiritual master, namely him, were gathered and chanting Jai Gurudev. Prabhupada said, who is this Gurudev? Gurudev is impersonal. I'll find you let's go deeper. Jai Gurudev.
But didn't Prabhupada say that they can address him as Gurudev?
I can't hear you. Tell me again. Microphone, great.
Didn't Prabhupada told his disciples that they can address him as Gurudev? So
Yes.
if they address him as Gurudev and they sing Jaya Gurudev, is not addressed to him?
It is, but here's what he said. Here's what happened. This is from Kripamoya Prabhu in England. February 1977, Gaur Purnima. Before the first Mangal Arti, Panchadravida Swami had been chanting Bhaja Bhakata Vatsala Shri Goda Hari for the Mangal offering before the Arti. During the Mangal Arti Kirtan, someone had been chanting, for Prabhupada of course, Jai Gurudev. And Bhavananda came down from Prabhupada's room after Mangal Arti, and during the announcements he brought two messages from Prabhupada, because Prabhupada was just on the floor upstairs and had heard. So Prabhupada said, firstly, You don't sing Bhog Arti for the Mangal Arti sweet offering. Secondly, you do not sing Jai Gurudev. Gurudev is impersonal. It can mean anyone. If you want to indicate your spiritual master, you call him by name. So it is Jai Prabhupada. Then afterwards, he also said that if you want to sing Jai Gurudev, you should sing it before singing Jai Prabhupada. So you finish with the personal name of the spiritual master. But in our multi-guru ISKCON, sometimes the generic form of Jai Gurudev, as a glorification of all the ISKCON Guru Vrinda, is chanted by the disciples who are leading kirtan, not before Prabhupada's name, but after. So it means that if you're a Prabhupada disciple, who's now at a kirtan being led by a junior, you are then guilty of contravening Prabhupada's explicit instruction, because the Gurudev that you're being asked to chant cannot indicate your Gurudev if you sing it after Jai Prabhupada. It may be a small thing, but it's one of those things that has bothered Kripamoya Das for many years since he first heard it in Mayapur, and now it has caught on. That's Kripamoya Das speaking. Another devotee writes, he objected to the usage of Jai Gurudev since it was a direct insertion into our movement from the Sahaja Sampradayas in Bengal, who always say things like Jai Gurudev without referring to any particular guru. Prabhupada criticized this as impersonal and did not want it chanted by his disciples. Who is the guru? He would challenge. Bhavananda Prabhu relates, during a Guru Puja in Mayapur, Achyutananda Maharaj started chanting Jai Gurudev, etc. Prabhupada stopped us and said, what is this Jai Gurudev? What Gurudev? Who Gurudev? This is Mayavad and should not be done. In 1972, Srila Prabhupada also wrote to Bhavananda Prabhu, one thing, on the invitation card you have written, all glories to our Guru Maharaj. This is impersonalism. As soon as we offer obeisances to Guru, the name should be there. We are strictly personalists. The Sahajiyas, they write, glories to Guru. Why you are learning this impersonalism? Who has taught you? Daily I am offering obeisances to my Guru by vibrating his real name, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Otherwise, it is impersonal. A little more about that? Or is that enough? That's enough, okay. There's more, and there's a whole discussion of now, because we have lots of gurus, so what about Jai Gurudev in that context? So you'll find that on page 69. Yes?
Maharaj, yeah. So what you did say is that if you proceed or begin with Jai Gurudev and then you say Prabhupada's name after, then that's acceptable?
Yes, that's acceptable, Prabhupada said.
Yeah.
But we never do it that way. It's always, the idea is maybe that the Jai Gurudev is for all the Gurudevas, but this was not something Prabhupada taught, and it's something he objected to.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
The second question was...
The second question, yes.
What was Prabhupada's not opinion, but how he did? He gave for the festivals, the devotees, he gave to lead the kirtan to ones who was good, nice singers, or to the ones who are more senior devotees?
how did Prabhupada choose the kirtan leaders at festivals?
Yeah.
Often he didn't. It would just be someone else would choose or someone else would volunteer.
Or what is the right thing?
But Prabhupada had kirtan leaders that he especially appreciated. And sometimes he did invite particular people to lead kirtan. There's a letter quoted in the book where Prabhupada suggests that Jamuna Devi can come to one of his Pandal programs from a different city. Prabhupada very much appreciated her kirtan. And my observation would be that it wasn't just because she had a good voice. There are other devotees who had good voices. It wasn't that Jamuna Devi had the monopoly on having a good voice. But Prabhupada appreciated her singing and her devotion. The main thing is the devotion. I've cited an instance where in 1977, when Prabhupada was ill in Vrindavan, Bhavananda Prabhu brought some kirtaniyas from Bengal, from Mayapur, devotees, a small group of kirtaniyas. And Prabhupada just wasn't interested. Wasn't interested. They were excellent kirtaniyas. They wound up chanting in the temple room. Prabhupada wasn't excited about their kirtan. He liked, he had particular kirtaniyas he especially liked. Bharad Raj Prabhu, Yashodananda and Guru Kripa, Hamsadutta, there's Lokanath Maharaj. There were several that he liked. And again, it wasn't because they were professionally accomplished. There were far more capable musicians available if Prabhupada wanted to hear a professionally expert kirtan. But it was the devotion. That was the main thing. The enthusiasm, the devotion. That's the main thing. And there's lots of quotes about that in the book. That was the main thing. Yes. Okay, there's maybe go in the direction of the microphone.
I want to ask about all glories to Sri Guru. I understood that you said here that Prabhupada said that it was a Sahaja intervention, but I was told that at the end of the Premadvani we are
at the end of the
Premadvani prayers, we are saying all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, and all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is how I was told that we should end it, and I heard in different temples that are doing like that.
Well, of course, Prabhupada wrote in his Bhagavatam in the very beginning, all glories to Guru, Sri Guru and Gauranga, and it's typically there in Gaudiya Math publications also. But for the kirtan, Prabhupada didn't have, it's like, what do you do? Sort of like a lawyer, he'll find a reason to justify this or justify that, or he'll find contradictory instructions. It says this here, this there. But finally we have to see, well, what did Prabhupada tell us? Sometimes it may not be clear, but most of the time it's very clear. So in this instance, Jai Gurudev, it's clear Prabhupada said it was impersonal. He didn't like it, and we can find evidence. But all glories to Guru and Gauranga, or something else. But Prabhupada simply didn't like it in the kirtan. Didn't want it. Makes life simple. He said no. We don't have to think too much. That made me think of something. Oh, yeah, what goes into the Prema Dhvani? Prema Dhvani prayers. 3 pages dedicated to the subject, 115 to 118. It starts out by giving the way Prabhupada did it, which almost always was exactly the same. You know, hundreds of kirtans, almost always exactly the same. I don't think I should go through the whole thing, but it starts with his spiritual master, goes up through the disciplic succession, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Haridas Thakur, Prem Sikho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath, Vrindavan Dham, Navadip Dham, Jamuna Mai, Ganga Mai, Bhakti Devi, Tulsi Devi, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. And then Prabhupada would say, thank you very much. Always, that's how he did it. Sometimes a little variation, but hardly. Though in ISKCON we naturally begin with glorification of Srila Prabhupada, at home or in gatherings of grand disciples, it's entirely fitting to begin with glorification of our own spiritual master, or the spiritual masters of the devotees present, and then Srila Prabhupada, tracing upwards. At initiation ceremonies, of course, one should begin with glorification of the one or more spiritual masters initiating. I've seen that. Maybe you've seen this too, initiation ceremonies where they begin chanting the Mangalacharana prayers, starting with Prabhupada. You know, they're going to be initiated by Jayadvaita Maharaj or Gopal Krishna Maharaj or Sachinandan Maharaj or but they start the Mangalacharana with the guru of the person who's initiating. That's totally weird. As if the disciplic succession had stopped with Prabhupada. It's not how it's supposed to be. Your guru, his guru, his guru, his guru. That's Mangalacharana. It's not that, you know, we have this, Prabhupada is the spiritual master of everyone, and that's fine, but there's a way that Prabhupada is the spiritual master of everyone. It's because we come in disciplic succession from Prabhupada. So to leave out our spiritual master, especially like at an initiation ceremony, is, to use an American term, wacko. Which means way off. Now in the temples, because of various historical things that have happened, we don't chant the names of Prabhupada's disciples, but that's the standard. So for initiation ceremonies, for kirtan at your home or disciples gathering, why not? It's not that we're supposed to snip out our Guru Maharaj from the disciplic succession and put him aside because of Prabhupada. It's become a slogan, Prabhupada in the center, and Prabhupada should be in the center. But the center of what? You know, a wheel has the hub at the center, but it has spokes, it has a rim. Without the spokes and the rim, your center is not the center. So Prabhupada's in the center because everything leads to Prabhupada. But how does it lead to Prabhupada? My guru, his guru, his guru, his guru. Evam prampra praptam imam rajarshio vidu. Sometimes devotees add the names of the temple deities to the Premadhvani. Prabhupada did not. It's not a requirement. And the Prem Dhvani already includes Prem Sikho Shri Krishna Chaitanya and Shri Shri Radha Krishna. So adding more so nothing more needs to be added. We've already chanted the names of the deities, Shri Shri Radha Krishna, Prem Se Kaho, Shri Krishna Chaitanya. I've sometimes been asked, when we do add the names of the deities at the end of the Prema Dhvani, which is the correct order? Do we, as the tradition might expect, start with Gaur Nitai and proceed up to Radha Krishna? Or do we start with Radha Krishna and work our way down to Gaur Nitai and Srila Prabhupada? Which way is right? Since Srila Prabhupada did neither, and it's not part of the tradition, I have no right answer to give, other than, why do it? In the Gaudiya Mat, the Prem Dhvani often goes on with glorifications at considerable length, so one may extend the glorifications, or, like Srila Prabhupada, one might keep them short and simple. There's a little more in that section, but that's the story on Prema Dhvani. Is that okay? Okay. Any surprises there? A few surprises, right? Yeah. There's lots. If you'd like a lot of surprises, there's more where that came from. Okay. Another question, yes?
My question is, why do we dance, or why does Krishna like it when we dance in the kirtan?
Why do we
Dance.
stand when?
Dance.
Why do we dance? Because Prabhupada danced, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced, and because by chanting Hare Krishna you feel like dancing. The dancing, and there's a quotation here from Prabhupada that the dancing helps increase the devotion and ecstasy. Yes, Maharaj.
Just to add one little thing, and he said, Prabhupada also said, you can hear it, he said, even if you don't feel like dancing, get up and dance and you'll feel like it.
Shy. Yes, there was another question. Now, what kind of dancing? That's going to have to be another book. But I have a little bit about what Prabhupada said about dance. In essence, Prabhupada said, dancing means raised hands. Dancing means raised hands. He said that several times. And there was some instance, one kirtan, where Prabhupada stopped it because of crazy dancing. Yes, Chicago, very famous incident. You were there, I think, Maharaj. No. Yeah. I heard the story from Mahabodhi Prabhu himself, among others. Prabhupada. And one of my favorite, there's a good index in the book, by the way, you can find things. One of my favorite entries, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 12 or 14 entries. And the main entry is, Kirtan stopped by Srila Prabhupada because of. And while dancing, that's one of them, page 183 and 184, the Chicago incident, yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, what about the musical instruments? Prabhupada had ever restricted harmonium to play? Because I heard that once one devotee was playing the harmonium, and when he heard, Srila Prabhupada heard, then he checked with the devotees, and the devotees informed that somebody is playing, so Prabhupada said, okay, no problem, he may play. So what you can say on that?
There's a lot about harmonium,
Mm-hmm.
as you might expect. Let's see, let's start on page 172. No, that's not the one I wanted. Let's see. page 19, page 163. Well, page 19 is summary of Kirtan etiquette from His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. Item 5. The instruments that Srila Prabhupada instructed for accompanying Kirtan were kartal, mridanga, and jhampa, wampers. He didn't approve of harmonium for Kirtan. For bhajan it is all right. The instruments, especially jhampa, should not drown out the holy name or cause pain to the ears. The instruments should follow the kirtan leader. Then 163. During Srila Prabhupada's presence, it was a well-known instruction that the harmonium was suitable for bhajan, but should not be played during kirtan. Yes? Although Srila Prabhupada played harmonium expertly, when he led kirtan, we never saw him play it. Nonetheless, we have pictures of Jamuna Devi playing harmonium while leading a group in kirtan with Srila Prabhupada present. We have recordings of Srila Prabhupada chanting Jai Radha Madhava before class with harmonium and temple full of devotees, and so on. Yet before the chanting of Jai Radha Madhava and after the class, there would have been kirtan with kartals and mridangas, no harmonium. And after the early days, when anything was accepted, during Srila Prabhupada's presence, the norm in ISKCON for kirtans and artis was kartals and mridangas only, with harmoniums rarely used. We had heard that Srila Prabhupada had said not to use the harmonium during kirtans and artis, so that was the standard we followed. Satsrup Maharaj writes, Palika Devi Dasi also recalls that Prabhupada did not like harmoniums played during the kirtan. His comment was that it would drag the kirtan. Prabhupada used to say that his Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, banged the kartals together and would only have kartals and mridanga played for kirtan. The point is that artistic musicianship can sometimes be distracting from chanting the holy name. A letter from Srila Prabhupada, 1976, conveys the same instruction. The harmonium may be played during bhajan if there is someone who can play melodiously, but it is not for kirtan and arti. As we'll find later reported by Javanaksha Das, Prabhupada told the leaders of the Radha Damodar traveling party in the 1970s that during arti there shouldn't be any harmonium. Bhavananda Prabhu has also said that Prabhupada told him, kirtan means kol kartal, kol means mridanga, kol kartal, no harmonium. And there's further discussion about that. When is it bhajan and when is it kirtan and so on. That's all dealt with in the book. Yes. To my left.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. As far as I listen, it will going to be a revolutionary book in ISKCON, even between the gurus, I think. So I have another question also regarding the Srila Prabhupada's attitude. As I know and as I read that Srila Prabhupada used every way, every mean for preaching.
He did what?
Preaching.
No, what about preaching?
Srila Prabhupada used every means, every
Prabhupada
opportunity.
used every means for preaching.
Preaching, yes. But now there is also a discussion between the different gurus of ISKCON that, for example, okay, we use astrology, Ayurveda, but some devotees also use psychology as a preaching method. And some of gurus are approve this attitude. Some says that why we add some new things. And is there anything that you can add on this topic?
There's a lot. I could give a whole seminar on this topic, but I don't think I will. The Prabhupada, one thing is you can use everything for preaching, but it's not that you can use everything for preaching. That is to say, for example, well, I could chant Om Namo Shivaya for preaching, but that's not an approved Gaudiya Vaishnava mantra. I could chant Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari, but that's not approved. So it's not that everything we'll have a ballroom dance with boys and girls mixing nicely, and that's going to be for preaching. There's lots of things, LSD for preaching, right? I mean, there's lots of things that don't fall into, well, Prabhupada approved everything for preaching. Now, everything can be used. Like, you could think of some instances where even the most wild thing Prabhupada said could be done. But that doesn't mean there's no standard. The Acharya, the expert, he can direct that you can do this. There was some problem in Moscow. There was no milk to be found. And, like Shamsundar had to travel all over the city just to find a little milk. And when Prabhupada got the milk, every vessel was like being filled with milk. Glasses, flower vases, a lota. So that doesn't mean, well, now our standard is that lotas can be used for milk. But Prabhupada could do anything according to his expert direction. But we're meant to follow, not to imitate. And as far as the rest of it, well, that's the next seminar. Okay, I want to be courteous of your time and not carry on long. But yes.
Two short questions. The first one is related to what you said about Kirtan. Is the Harinam on the streets, walking Harinam, for example, included in Kirtan, so no harmonium there?
That's what Prabhupada seemed to indicate.
Okay. Second question is about...
Now, let me just
go
a little bit. That what we do sometimes, like in a concert setting or something like that, may be a little different from what we do in the temple. We're not like going to be putting everyone in straitjackets and putting everyone in jail cells. It has to be exactly like this, exactly like that. But I'm giving the basic standard that Prabhupada gave.
Okay, thank you. Second question would be about Mangala Arati. That after we sing Guru Ashtaka, we sing Hare Krishna. And should we end with Hare Krishna? Or in some circumstances, various temples, I heard being sang Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya, what here we have Lord Nrsimhadev or other deities, or just stop at Hare Krishna and that's it?
I have a whole section about that too. Just about any question that you'll come up with is probably...
I'm sorry, I did not have time since yesterday to read the book.
No. I don't expect you to read the book beforehand. This is like a little sample, so it's good that you're asking. Prabhupada ended Kirtan invariably, or did Kirtan invariably, practically speaking, the same way. offering obeisances, chanting the Panchatattva Maha Mantra, chanting Hare Krishna, and stopping. And in fact, he instructed on a couple of occasions, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Hare Krishna, nothing else. Gurvastakam, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Hare Krishna, nothing else. And that's what he said. I got criticized for saying that. But that's the way Prabhupada did it. Now, deity mantras, page 96 through 102. So, because that was heard in a seminar I gave. So, but what Prabhupada permitted that, well, okay. In 1976, Shrutadev Das, temple president in London, wrote to Prabhupada asking if it was acceptable to chant in Kirtan, Jai Radha Londonishwara, Prabhupada Pran Danahe, adapted from the song Radha Krishna Giti. Prabhupada replied, yes, you have my permission to sing as you have requested. New Vrindavan, I've somewhere heard, got similar approval. But what Prabhupada permitted has now become de rigueur. You've got to do it, or devotees look at you like you hate the deities. Such deity mantras now seem to have become obligatory at the end of every kirtan, and in fact they can pop up anywhere. In the middle of Mangal Arti, after Guru Vastakam, after Nrsimha Arti, or Tulsi Puja, or Jai Radha Madhava in the Bhagavatam class, anywhere. This practice, not begun or followed by Srila Prabhupada, has become so entrenched that in response to my kirtan seminar, one of my godbrothers railed, that means in a Bhagavatam class, because we're personalists. And we're not impersonalists. We chant the names of the deities. Nitai Gauranga, Jai Nitai Gauranga, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Jai Subhadra, Rukmini Dwarkadish, Rukmini Dwarkadish. Are you a personalist? You don't chant the names of the deity? We always chant the names of the deities. We're personal. What, do you stand in front of the deities and ignore them? Does that make any sense? I'm chanting for the deities, but I don't chant their names. That's not necessary. What this godbrother's argument seems to have missed is that as far as we know, Prabhupada himself never chanted the names of the deities. Nor did he teach us to chant such deity mantras. Does it mean that Prabhupada was an impersonalist? That he was ignoring the deities? Before the deities, Prabhupada chanted Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Hare Krishna. That was personal enough for him. You can decide whether or not it's personal enough for you. Yes?
It's an old habit to break,
Yeah.
because we've done, I learned this after years, because like you said, this is how it was done. I didn't even know that it's not supposed to be like that.
It can be like that. That I wrote in conclusion. Let's see. May we chant deity mantras? Yes. Must we? No. Did Prabhupada? No. What can we do instead? Well, we can do what Srila Prabhupada did. Just keep chanting Hare Krishna. Yes.
What about singing the Prabhupada Pranam mantra after Guru Ashtaka?
Yeah, after. There's a discussion here why after rather than before.
No, no. Is it okay to sing Prabhupada Pranam mantra?
As far as I can tell. We've done that for even during Prabhupada's time also. But it's also okay not to. That sounds almost treasonous. But Prabhupada didn't chant his Guru Maharaj's mantra before the kirtan. He chanted Mangala Charana, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Hare Krishna. Of course, his Guru Maharaj was included in that. But he said Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Hare Krishna, nothing else. But certainly nothing wrong with Prabhupada's chanting Prabhupada's Pranam mantra. But if you don't, you'll be against ISKCON tradition, but you won't be against the philosophy. There's all sorts of concocted mantras that come in there. Once you get started with the deity mantras, I have a whole, I think it's entertaining section about this. The mantras that people come up with, like there's a place in the Middle East where the deities are named Radha Krishna. So they chant Jai Radha, Radha Krishna. Because you're supposed to, it's like a formula, da, 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 da. So Radha, Radha Krishna. Maybe not. Or in Los Angeles, I saw a very respectable sannyasi visiting. He'd lean over to ask the name of the deities and then chant Radha Rukmini Dwarkadish. Radha Rukmini Dwarkadish Radhe. That's totally incompatible. It's Rasabhas of the first order. And I have a very sort of poignant story in the footnote about what Prabhupada said about Radha Rukmini Dwarkadish. From South Africa, Radha Jagannatha, Radha Jagannatha. Well, again from the Middle East, Radha Ladu Gopal, Radha. No. Jaya Shala Grama, Jaya Shala Grama. The rule is it's got to be ta ta da ta ta. That's the rest of it doesn't. What you chant doesn't matter. It's just got to be ta da ta 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 ta. We've got, Prabhupada told us that we should in every kirtan chant the Panchatattva Mahamantra. There's a place in Chaitanya Charitamrita where he says it like 7 times in 3 pages or something. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda. So now, because we've installed Panchatattva in Mayapur, what do we chant? Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva. Where did that come from? Prabhupada never chanted it, never said to chant it. And in fact, he said one should chant all 5 names. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, because there's people who chant something else concocted. Prabhupada said all, but Pancha Tattva, Jaya, none of the 5 names, no names at all. Then why are we doing it? Well, because da 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 da, and because you're supposed to chant the names of all the deities. Why? Damned if I know. Cat in the basket. Okay. All right, I can take a couple more, I guess. Yes, Maji? Sri Radhe became quite popular. She's always popular.
I mean, like this.
Is
we are sometimes singing this Radhe Radhe or Shri
Radhe Radhe Kirtan.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Here we go. Jaya mantras, approved and disapproved. Jai Radhe. Okay, let's get started. This is a kirtan a paper on kirtan written in the 1970s. 1970s? I think so. I've got the date in here. By Harikesh Swami, telling how Prabhupada instructed him how he wanted kirtan done. When Harikesh was temple president of Vrindavan, Prabhupada said, I want to set the standards now. Temple had just been opened. So he gave that instruction that he wanted the morning tune and only the morning tune chanted at Mangalarti. Stopped a Mangalarti for something other than the morning tune. The next morning, I led the kirtan in his room, duplicating the melodious style which he had shown me the day before. Prabhupada was pleased and seemed to enjoy the kirtan. Unfortunately, I fell victim to that demon within the mind and started to speculate a couple of Jai Radhes at the end of the kirtan. This was one of the bigger mistakes made by me at that time. Although there's nothing wrong with Jai Radhe, Prabhupada simply didn't want us to chant it. He once explained that Shukadev Goswami did not feel himself qualified to chant the name of Radha in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and therefore only indicated her name with the word Aradhana while describing the topmost gopi friend of Krishna. Anyway, to continue the story, I just started to chant Srimati Radharani's holy name within Vrindavan Dham, her beloved Lord's abode, within the presence of her most intimate devotee, during the most auspicious hours of the day, when her most intimate devotee looked at me with eyes blazing like fire and desirous of initiating my immediate destruction. Voice choked and gagging, I ended the kirtan immediately, without further formalities, never again to make the same mistake. Prabhupada never ended kirtans with various extra mantras, especially not Jai Radhe. So why should I? Badri Narayan Maharaj says, he told us, don't do it. He was adamant about it. It's not such a cheap thing. Such a valuable thing you keep guarded. You don't flaunt cheaply. But Hari Prabhu comments, he gave us Radharani's name to chant 8 times while chanting the Maha Mantra. It's not like he didn't want us to chant Radharani's name and take shelter of her. We're spending 2 hours a day expressly taking shelter of her. But there was a way. It's respectful. It's appropriate for our level. He was very, very cautious that this is the name of Radharani, the most sacred thing in the universe, even more sacred than Krishna's name. Don't just take it cheaply. Maybe there are people who are qualified to chant her name. I couldn't say. I'm not. I should add something that I usually add at the beginning of all my seminars. All of my friends, all of my favorite kirtan leaders, all the devotees I most respect, all do one or another of things you'll hear about in this book as being less than approved. So the point is not to criticize them or to imply that they're less than qualified or in any other way. Bang on them. The purpose of the book is not to criticize. And what advanced devotees do, especially, I just sit here. If you don't see me chanting, by the way, it's because I've got laryngitis. I can't join in the kirtan. It's not a protest. But even when I can chant, I'm not one of the, headline kirtan leaders of ISKCON. There are devotees who just are empowered to chant Hare Krishna, who get the whole room going and all the devotees jumping and dancing and absorbed in Krishna consciousness. So I don't want to be the guy on the sideline who says, "Oh, but you chanted Jai Guru Dev." Prabhupada said, I don't want to be the person who takes pleasure in criticizing other devotees, especially advanced devotees. But I thought it would be worthwhile to compile the instructions from Srila Prabhupada, and then everyone can have the benefit of knowing what those instructions were. And some things there may be more information to come, or there may be more understandings to be revealed or disclosed or arrived at. Sachinandan Maharaj, who wrote a wonderful endorsement on the back cover, for the back cover of the book, looked over what he'd written and said, "It's the beginning of a discussion." I like that comment very much. Okay. All these hands. What should I be doing? I mean, I have time. I'm not constricted. I have time till 1 o'clock. Okay, we've got the word of authority here, and that's what we needed. Yes. What to do when you're in kirtan and they start to sing these things? Well, you have various options. One is you just go along because it's not so important. The main thing is chanting Hare Krishna, and we're not going to, what's the word, die, I guess is a good word, because someone chanted something that you read about or heard about in my seminars. So one easy thing is just to say, all right, and take it in stride. Another thing is to perhaps have a discussion with the devotee afterwards, or if he's senior, ask someone else if they might want to have a discussion with that, one of his peers, with that devotee. Another alternative is to walk out, which is something that I confess I do a lot. When it reaches a certain level of, what is this? I just vote with my feet. In the Nectar devotion, it's said that to be angry in front of the deities is an offense to the deities. So rather than stay in the kirtan and be, what's the word, angry, I just leave. I figure, okay, this is a good opportunity to chant more japa. and I just go do something else. Because there are kirtans that, no, it's just music, it's just entertainment, it's just this or that, at least as far as I can see. And why do I want to be here? So there are occasions where I just say, let me be peaceful and let me be elsewhere. But otherwise, the general, all right, let it ride. Okay? If you have other things that work for you, you can let me know. Maybe I'll start an extra appendix, things you can do when it goes. Maharaj.
Please forgive me for this one.
You want forgiveness in advance, okay?
Well, it's a consideration anyway. There was one incident that's been written about where, when Prabhupada was here, Vishnu Jan Maharaj, in his connection with some of the Bengalis, started chanting Ramo instead of Rama. And Prabhupada's response was quite strong. And he shot it down really with some very strong bullets. Do you have that mentioned?
Yeah, page 180.
Yeah. I think some of the things he said was, one thing he ended with is that if it continues, it will ruin everything, was one of the statements he said.
Yeah, you are ruining this movement. Vishnu Jan looked up and said nothing. Prabhupada's, okay. Nanda Kumar, Prabhupada's servant sometimes. I remember wanting to immerse myself in everything Bengali. Since our movement and our dear Srila Prabhupada were from there, and trying to adopt the Ramo and Krishna accent for a day or so after hearing it. But right away it didn't feel right, since Srila Prabhupada didn't do it. And soon after, His Divine Grace started correcting us. The main point is to avoid changing things, since keeping things as they are is where the potency is. And then the story from Vishnu Jan, he was singing the Hare Krishna mantra where he had deliberately changed Hare Krishna to Hare Rama to Hare Ramo, because he'd heard it being sung that way in India. When Srila Prabhupada noticed this change, he immediately stopped him by asking, "Who is this Ramo?" Vishnu Jan Swami looked up and said nothing, as Srila Prabhupada rebuked his disciple with these exact words: "You are ruining our movement." With that, Srila Prabhupada continued to correct Vishnu Jan Swami by saying, "It's Rama," and then went on his way. And there's a footnote. I relate this story with no intention of slighting Vishnu Jan Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada once wrote of him, wrote to him, "Krishna has given you special talent for chanting Hare Krishna mantra. When you were chanting in LA Temple in the evenings or in the mornings, I enjoyed your chanting so nicely that I thought myself, immediately carried to Vaikuntha Loka." So Vishnu Jan Maharaj was another favorite kirtan leader, Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, and Prabhupada loved his chanting.
Beautiful
but
kirtan.
Still, as one who wants to give the correct understanding, he said that, he corrected him.
Yeah.
But can I add one thing? It's all pervading in our movement now. It's so much. Ramos are more popular than Ramas.
One thing, if you're in Bengali, it's fine. And if you're Spanish, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna is also fine. And if you're Chinese, what is it? Hare Krishna?
Hare, with a little bit of an H in there.
With a little bit of an H in there.
L.
A little of an H, an L in there.
Yeah.
So local pronunciation, Krishna is known as Bhavagrahi Janardhan,
Yeah.
which means that he accepts the feeling. It's not the, even if the pronunciation may not be exact Sanskrit pronunciation, it's the feeling. So Bhavagrahi Janardhan. But then this instruction is also that don't imitate. If you're not Bengali, don't try to fake it. Yes, Govindasi.
In your book, do you address the dancing aspect of Kirtan? Which is definitely a part of it.
Do I address the dancing? Yes, I do.
Because Prabhupada taught us how to dance.
Yes. Well, this is a good opportunity to bring that up and maybe hear more about it from you, since you had so much association in those early days.
I remember once in Hawaii, there was crazy dancing, three mridangos, and the place smelled like...
Microphone for Govindasi.
Prabhupada walked in.
Hold on.
I remember once in Hawaii that there was this wild, what do you call it, athletic dancing, and there were three mridangas, and Prabhupada came downstairs into the temple room, and it smelled like a gymnasium, from the sweat and everything, and he was so annoyed. He told him one mridanga only, and he told them, not like this. He taught us to dance very, as he put it, this is how you dance for the pleasure of the deities. This is how you dance for the pleasure of Krishna. Of course, a lot of the Bengali influence happened too, in the same way that you're talking about. Huge amount of Bengali dancing influence.
Thank you so much for bringing this up. I'll read a little bit from the book. The discussion of dancing in Kirtan could take up a book in itself. Considering the sorts of dancing seen in ISKCON today, such a book would be welcome. Here, let's just touch upon the topic. Srila Prabhupada wrote, regarding your question about the dancing should be done enthusiastically by raising the hands like Panchatattva. All of Lord Chaitanya's followers used to dance with raised hands. If someone dances with ecstasy, that is all right, but it is better to dance with raised hands. Satsvarup Das Goswami, dancing for Prabhupada always meant upraised arms and extended fingers, like the depiction of Gaur and Nitai. That was how he introduced dancing in his room at 26 2nd Avenue, leading us around in a circle, showing how you put your left foot to the right side and how you sway back and forth with the arms always upraised. Kirtanananda called it the Swami step. Once in Chicago, he admonished boys who were twisting disco style. Emphatically from the Vyasasana, he raised up his arms. He did it once, and when the devotees did not heed, he did it again, like this. Makanlal Das, later Bhakti Madhurya Govinda Swami, tells of the same incident. The temple room, formerly a large basketball gymnasium in a YMCA or something similar, was full of about 600 or more devotees. A rip-roaring, fast kirtan was going on in front of Srila Prabhupada. The young male devotees were dancing crazy, running up to each other with their hands almost like fists, almost in a confrontational way, and going back and forth, twisting their bodies about like spastic epileptic fits. Suddenly, Srila Prabhupada gave the order to stop the kirtan completely. It was like stopping 500 freight trains, but he gave the order. The shocked devotees fell silent. Then Srila Prabhupada spoke, not like this, imitating the boxing-like motions of the men. Like this. And Srila Prabhupada got up, once again reintroducing the original Swami two-step, just as he had taught in New York and in San Francisco in 1969, 1970. From this intervention by Srila Prabhupada and stopping of the enthusiastic kirtan, it's clear that there are standards that must be kept, and not just a free-for-all based on unrestricted concoctions and sense gratification. Sometimes dancing can even become dangerous. In wild enthusiasm, devotees sometimes embrace other devotees and hoist them off the ground and drop them down again. When devotees once did this to Niranjan Maharaj, he suffered a knee injury that cost him years of trouble and pain. In a conversation in Washington, D.C., July 8th, 1976, Rupanugadas asked Srila Prabhupada about forms of dancing in which devotees turn their backs to the deity, bump each other, and so on. Srila Prabhupada said, sometimes dancing is done here in peculiar method. That is not desirable. And finally he said, they are inventing. What can I do? But not everything is an invention. Srila Prabhupada wrote to Hansadutta Das, regarding your dancing in the middle of the kirtan, it's not wrong, it's completely right. If in your kirtan everyone dances in ecstasy, it's perfectly all right. That is spiritual enthusiasm. Bhavananda Prabhu remembers, during Guru Puja in Mayapur, Prabhupada would encourage devotees to dance. He especially would smile and move his hand, palm up and down, to make Brahmananda jump up and down, higher and higher. Sometimes the way of dancing that Srila Prabhupada had taught became lost. But Lokanath Swami writes that when ISKCON devotees picked it up again from the Gaudiya Math Kirtan parties in Mayapur, Srila Prabhupada was pleased. Revadinandan Das recalls that Srila Prabhupada liked graceful dancing. Praising as graceful the dancing of one devotee, Srila Prabhupada said, see how he dances. This is very good. This will help one feel more devotion. Rebadinandan remembers, he also said the dancing should be graceful and gentlemanly. Then during the second kirtan, he got off the Vyasasana and danced in the middle of the kirtan party. He danced back and forth very gracefully in what we called the Swami step. After a while, he put his hands up and started leaping up in the air, straight up and down. He wasn't shaking his body around. His hands were up, and he was leaping in the air. He kept leaping and leaping and leaping for a long time, and we were doing it with him. I got tired. I stopped and started to dance back and forth at one point. I was 22 years old at the time, and he was over 70. Radhanath Swami comes to mind for the type of graceful dancing that Srila Prabhupada recommended. Indradumna Swami and Sri Prahlad Das quote this verse, "O King, when the devotees of Lord Krishna dance, their steps crush the misfortune of the earth. Their glances destroy the misfortune of the 10 directions. And their upraised arms push away the misfortune of the planets of the demigods." Now that's all I have. Someone can write the next book about dancing. I'll read it with great interest. You approve, Govindadasi? Yes.
Very strange. And that statement that you made to Prabhupada, that statement that you made that Srila Prabhupada said, it's very peculiar.
Yes.
Because that's his way of saying, what can I do?
Yeah.
I'm dealing with a bunch of rakshasas.
There's another question someplace? Yes, over there. Okay. Yeah. Back against the radiator. That's a radiator.
So I have a question. Please don't interpret this as an accusation, but I have a deja vu since Mataji's seminar yesterday, because she also mentioned that some things were in a certain way during Prabhupada's time and then they changed gradually.
Yeah.
And also here you mentioned some standards and some a lot of deviations from the standards.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, when these deviations occurred, why weren't they corrected like immediately instead of letting them be, and now we get to understand that they weren't even the standard, something that we grew up with for 15 years or something?
Well, this is the way it works, you know. Someone adds a little something for spice, and, you know, it's not a big thing, but then it catches on, and then it's all over the place, and then someone adds another spice, and someone adds something else, and pretty soon it's we don't even recognize what it was. So it's hard to stop these things. Once these things get started, they're hard to stop. And therefore it's better not to start them. But as far as, anyway, before people like Govindadasi and I kick off, we try to put in our little bit about the way it was and what Prabhupada said. I really should have written this book about 25 years ago. My apologies. Oh, Maharaj.
How to say this one? I heard this from a very senior devotee who quoted Prabhupada after Prabhupada was asked about this one mantra, Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam Hare Krishna Hare Ram.
Oh, yeah.
Prabhupada immediately dismissed it.
Yeah.
And of course he said it was sahaja, so many things. But this senior devotee said that Prabhupada said you could chant Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam Jai Krishna Balaram.
Yes.
So is that correct?
Yes. For background, there's in that list of mantras approved, disapproved, this comes under the category emphatically disapproved. The Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam Hare Krishna Hare Ram, which was invented by one Babaji in Vrindavan. Ramcharan, I think.
Ramcharana Babaji.
And disapproved by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, emphatically. So it's not that anything goes. And what made it particularly irksome for Srila Prabhupada was that next door to our Krishna Balaram temple, there was an ashram where they were chanting this day and night. And so Prabhupada had to hear Nitai Gaur Radhe Sham, and all of that. And Prabhupada complained about it many times, spoke about it many times, how this was unauthorized, how it was rasabhas, and so on. But Dhananjay Prabhu, our godbrother, who was sometimes in Vrindavan, sometimes at Bhaktivedanta Manor, very pillar devotee, said that Prabhupada, when Dhananjay was president of Vrindavan, Prabhupada said that you could chant this, Jai, why Krishna, Jai Nitai Gaur Radhe Sham. He said you can chant Nitai Gaur Radhe Sham Jai Krishna Balaram, because we have our deities. Jai. Now, I always took it that Prabhupada said this in jest, that he was joking. But Dhananjay Prabhu said that Prabhupada was serious about it. So I wasn't there, I can't say anything about it. But these days, there's a lot of Jai.
Too many
Jai, Jai, Jai. And one point I make in the book is that, okay, in the beginning we chant Jai such and such, Jai such, then in the middle of the kirtan, after the Gurvastakam, Jai such and such, and then at the end, Jai such. And how long is the kirtan? Mangalarti kirtan lasts what, 20 minutes? And then you've got the Gurvastakam, and you've got the pranam prayers, and then you've got all these Jais. What's left for Hare Krishna? Poor Hare Krishna mantra gets down to, this much. Yes.
Connected with this, what you just said. Some devotees sing this Guru Ashtaka twice every line.
I don't have an opinion, once or twice. I never heard Prabhupada say anything about it. Obviously, if you do it twice, it takes more time. But if you do it twice, you're getting more absorbed. So I don't have something to say. That was easy. Anything? I try to restrict myself to what Prabhupada instructed. There's a lot of, if you want to know a lot of things I don't like about, see me privately, I could tell you. But for the book, it's Govindasi.
I especially like the part you were saying about don't change anything.
Yeah.
I'm big on that. And I know for sure, Srutikirti has heard this too. He didn't like it if somebody changed the way the prasadam was done. He didn't like it if you changed the way the dancing was done. He didn't like it if you changed the way the writings were done. He didn't like it if you changed. And nowadays, this is a scary concept because from what I learned from the latest in the Google world, because I have friends whose children work there, they can change. They can make something sound like your voice or even look like you in a video. And so the authentic, unbelievable.
I couldn't hear that. They could do what?
They can actually, one of my friend's daughters works with Google in Washington, D.C., and she was saying how the latest thing is they can actually do a video of me speaking.
Oh, yeah,
it's just like me and sounds just like me, and I could be saying all nonsense, but it's not
so
me.
in the future we may get video proof that Prabhupada chanted Jai Nitai Gaur Radhe Sham or something.
Oh, worse than that, even worse than that. So I think that the issue that we have to address here is that Srila Prabhupada came straight from Krishna Loka. He knew what he was doing from day one. He could see everything in the future. There was he told somebody in the early times, I have many temples and many disciples, but I am just separated by time.
Yeah.
And that was when he was completely poor living in New York for that horrible year.
Yeah.
So I think really we have to be aware how important it is not to change things. Because it's just like this is what's happened with the biblical teachings. One little change every year, in 100 years, you got a different movement.
That speaks to the question that was asked at the very beginning of the class. Why shouldn't we? What's wrong with? And what you've said speaks right to the point. Prabhupada was emphatic. Do not change, do not change, do not change. This is your Western disease, always changing, always changing. He was so, any one of us who was around in that time, not even as early as you, but anyone who was there before.
The Americans change everything.
This is your American change.
American change disease.
In fact, here's, let's see if I can find this. You'll like this one too, I think. Page 27. Page 27. There was in the early 1970s, ISKCON leaders organized an innovative Hare Krishna roadshow featuring a rock opera and yoga village and kirtans with electric instruments. At first, Srila Prabhupada encouraged the effort, but finally, he shut it down. He had 2 of his GBC men compose and send a letter to all the GBC members and temple presidents saying, "The conditioned souls will be attracted to the holy name, sincerely chanted by pure devotees, and the perfect knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam as rendered by the Acharyas. There's absolutely no need of anything more. The responsibility to maintain the standard of Krishna consciousness is our single most important duty. We must be so careful to avoid the entrance of poison and pollution into our line. If we simply present things exactly as Srila Prabhupada does, there will be no loss." That's a memo to all GBC members and temple presidents from Karander and Shamsundar, June 12, 1972. A note at the end says, "This letter was read and approved personally by Srila Prabhupada." In another letter about the roadshow, Prabhupada wrote, "Simply perform our kirtan. If we divert our attention to innovations, the whole thing will gradually deteriorate. Gradually, the Krishna consciousness idea will evaporate. Another change, every day, another change. Stop all this. Simply perform our kirtan. Stop all this. Simply have kirtan, nothing else. Don't manufacture ideas." All right, we're at 3 minutes of 1, and we try to follow the standard. So we'll end at 1 or before. The book is published. We brought enough copies to go around, and you're welcome to get one for yourself, for your friends, for your kids, for your temple, for everyone, and distribute these instructions, or just take one copy for yourself. I think what do they cost? 15 euros or something? 15 euros. You know, if you have 14, we'll make a deal. And if you want, I'll sign them for you, and then they'll be worth more on eBay. And that's it. Thank you all very much. Thank you especially to Chandramauli Maharaj and to Govindadasi, and thank you to all. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Yes?
So we have Harinam.